All right, you ready to do this?
What are you looking at? Yeah, I'm ready.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, in
Five,
five, four.
four, three, two.
Lettuce heads, we are back with another edition of Please Let Us Golf, the podcast. Tonight we just got Goldie, Mr. Golfberg, puffing as always in the corner. We'll see if he
Just
has any
us.
tidbits to add. I got an interesting one tonight. We're talking what is golf practice? Probably a couple different perspectives here
Practice?
from different practice. We're talking about
Practice?
yeah,
I thought you're
we're gonna
talking about. I
we're
thought we
gonna
were going to
dive
be talking
into
about the
it.
game, but I guess we're talking about practice.
We're talking about practice to be good at the game, but some quick community notes. So tonight I'm actually free. I'm drinking a Gatorade Zero because I'm still recovering from a blowout golf trip. All of Team Plug, Golfberg, Goldie, Jewel, Adam, also known as
Mm-hmm.
Adam. Probably going to be known as the photographer moving forward. We got a lot
The
we're curating
historian.
over the next, yeah, historian as well. Next, I'd say 4 to 6 weeks. We're talking Erin Hills, everything at Sand Valley Resort. We're talking
Mm-hmm.
Lasonia Links. We're talking about epic picks, epic shorts. We're going to be doing pods. We're going to be doing reviews, everything you want to know about planning the trip, executing the trip, and then deep diving our personal experiences. We can't wait, but it is a lot of stuff. It's a mountain of stuff, and we're going through it as quickly as we can. So tonight we're going to have a little fun.
By
What
the way, I
is
shot a 70 and a 90, apparently.
in, wait,
Jules
was it the
keeping
same
score. I
day?
think it's slightly suspect, but so that's
It wasn't
range.
the
I
same
have
day, though. That
range.
would do it.
I
Yes.
have range. I'm proud of that. You know,
You got, I mean, yeah, that we're going to have plenty of time to
I'm
unpack
a
that. But
great
there was
scramble
another
partner. That's
milestone,
what I'm realizing. I bet I'm a great
se-
scramble partner.
a
Just like,
70 and a 90. That is wild.
hmm
All right. So, more to come on that front.
okay,
So practicing golf. So Mr. Golfberg and I, we said, how are we going to tackle this? And we just kind of decided to not tell each other how we were going to tackle it. So we're going to see how
right.
this goes. My initial take when we were going over the list, I said, okay, we're going to tackle this topic. It's just two of us. I'm going to go first after data golf guys. So
Okay.
by trade, by education, by trade, in my career, in my other life, I'm an analyst by trade.
hmm
I'm a big data guy, but I've hated what optimization and analytics has done to sports, specifically to golf. I think it's permeated across the board, but it's really become, trackman golfers chasing numbers, chasing metrics. There's no more just rolling the ball on the blacktop. 4v4, we're going to 11, check up. And
hmm
now it's just everything is
hmm
just so planned and programmed. And then that goes into practice. So everything now, I'm not going to name the services. I'm sure the services are wonderful, but there's these detailed track everything you're doing, data analytics, like extremely robust and what I would consider extremely unrealistic unless you are like a collegiate golfer, probably D1 collegiate golfer and beyond, where you're doing this things 5 days a week.
Right.
So I'm going to go into what I think. So as simple as it sounds, Hank Haney, let's give him a shout out. He always taught this is the key to success in golf, especially if you're trying to be like a sub 90 golfer.
What
No
is?
penalties, no penalty strokes, no
Okay.
two chips, no three putts.
No
And
two
still to this
chips.
day,
That's
no
literally
two
a thing
chips.
he
And
said. No, if
yes,
you're gonna
that's
chip,
it.
you
And
better
he
get it
it's
on the green.
yes, so no penalty strokes, no two chips, no three putts.
Okay.
And that I heard it a long time ago, and to this day, and just for context, this isn't a humble brag. Get my
hmm
ass beat all the time in golf, but I'm a plus handicap. That
Yeah.
is how I've structured my life around of like, hey, as I got better at golf, it was really through that model. So what does that mean? What do you need to do to accomplish that? Well, the first thing is golf's supposed to be fun. You have to be able to
Okay.
learn how to hit a driver off the tee, right?
Yes.
So it drives me crazy when especially now, data golf. Oh, it's not, it is distance, but it's iron proximity. And this, okay, you're talking about another tier of golfer. You got to have a
Yeah.
go-to tee shot, whether it's tension, whether you got your C game half the time, you have whatever it is. And it's not a mechanical thing. I went and saw Andrew Rice last year, one of the best teachers in the world. He didn't
hmm
want to talk one mechanic when it came to a driver. It was, you need a go-to shot. feel it. What do you want to do? Left, right, carve it, carve it, carve it.
Right.
And that's kind of where I think, I'll open it up
Not
here
wait, and let
before
me
I go
say,
into points two.
n-
Yep.
not long after that lesson, we played in Vegas and we're hitting balls before our first round. And he taught you about something like, look, if you just want to get in the game, those low cut shots, tee it up just a little lower, play that
Hmm.
aggressive cut, like plan on it. And I was awesome. I mean, I think I shot par that day and
Hmm.
contended, and
Yep. Yep.
hell yeah, dude, that guy was onto something. It was like, just do what it takes to
Well,
get it on the course, get in play.
yeah, hey, keep it on the planet, keep it in play, and then the rest of the game comes in. So
Hmm.
definitely, yeah, from a fun standpoint too, like, look, it doesn't matter what you're doing on and around the greens. If you're just hitting mega slices out of bounds, especially in America where you're going to be playing a ton of residential
Yeah,
golf, so there's a lot of residential OB. So that's practice tip number one is have a go-to that that you can get in play. Um,
right.
when I get into number two, this is more personal for me. Um, I probably spend 75% of my time literally chipping and putting. And that's more just from a time management thing. Like part of Please Let Us Golf, we all have two young kids. We do have careers. So you're trying to
Yeah,
manage all of that in. I
yeah.
really think if you got 2 or 3 days a week where you can, on a lunch break, on the way home from work. I have a very specific routine I do, and I try to mimic real golf. So like I'm going in most of my shots around the green. I'm using my 60, right?
This is crazy
It,
because let me tee up the
yep.
alternative.
Hmm.
I love chipping, and by the way, until I went on this trip recently, no, I've kind of been my mental confidence about chipping's been waning a bit. I have like seven wedges. Really trying to figure things out. But the way I practice chipping sucks because for some reason I would just get bored quickly. So I really do want to hear whatever this deal is you got going because it's
Yeah.
like if I'm not in the moment where I have to execute something and be really creative about it. So I got to think, take the practice swing. So during the game, it feels like worth it. But trying to kind of
Right.
mimic that game time in practice is tough for me.
No, no, that makes sense. And I do, and I want to reinforce I'm not going out there for an hour to go do this either. Right. So
Right.
the first thing I do, how many shag balls I have in my bag. If I have six, if I have 12, they're just getting launched on the ground and I'm just hitting shots just to some random targets. Then I'm collecting all those. And then I'm going to do a very specific drill where I'm going to hit two different kinds of shots to a certain amount of holes. So if I have 8 balls, I'm going to 4 targets. I'm going to hit basically a high wedge and a low wedge, just to play
Hmm.
2 different shots. And then after that, I'm going to put them out. And that's where my
Right.
real game speed putting goes in. And whatever I don't make, I'm going to go back and I'm going to go try to get it up and down again. And that's just what I'm going to do. So sometimes you literally do that and it's like 7 minutes. And I'm like, I'm good. I'm dialed. My confidence is through the roof. But
Right.
sometimes you do it and you like, oh, I'm trying to hit that back footer wedge and I skull too, or I'm trying to hit a little spinner and I chunk it.
Hmm.
But after I wrap that up, then I immediately go into the fun part. I try to find like the 5 hardest shots around that seem they're not ridiculous though. They're things that you really it's like I'm an aggressive golfer. I think we're going to get into that in the Wisconsin pod. Uh, I'm a roller
For sure.
coaster of emotion, so I find myself short sighted and
You do
really
not
fucked
like
up
easy
spots often.
shots.
I don't like easy shots.
No.
So then I'll practice those, and but to me, it's also like man, when you can figure out that part of the game, it to me it translates into compression and everything else even with your iron play like when you're really it can understand like the club face and
Yeah.
it's not technical because by the way none of this is really technical, this is all feel based. But yeah, so that's really my 2A and 2B is, and that's where my putting practice comes in is I'm trying to clean up that. And then I know you were going to want to get into putting too. I don't like it drives me nuts because
Mm.
the reason why you say focus on chipping and putting, it's not to be an old fuddy duddy of like, oh, that's where the game is. No, it's just like observing 5, 10, 15 handicappers that have one type of pitch shot and it kills them 50% of the times they need to have a secondary shot. And the volume of three putting is unbelievable. So I'm not saying you're going to just start putting and you're going to go make every 8 footer. But three putt avoidance is the easiest skill that any level of golfer can attain.
Hmm.
I don't care what the data golfers tell me. You can take a 25 handicapper, and if they have any athletic ability whatsoever, like low tier, you can train in three putt avoidance really quickly. But no one practices. So
Mm.
for me,
So
you're
how do you
just
train it
talking.
in? You're thinking you're putting to a bicycle tire,
No, I don't
a
like.
giant
So
hole.
here's a. I'm probably not the best guy in terms of the drills because drills have always backfired on me. They make me too technical. I'm throwing down 4 or 5 balls to 4 or 5
Hmm.
targets that are 20 to 40 feet away on a practice green, and I'm just it's that old thing, right? If you took this ball, I took my buddy. I'm not going to say his name. He's not a good golfer. He putts like crazy upright in this, and he's very tense. Um, and he just would he's launching putts right like 30 feet past the hole. I give him a ball. I didn't come up with this, so but this is old drill. I was like, toss it to the hole, and he tosses it within like 3 feet of the hole 3 times in a row. I'm like, how'd
Wow.
you do that? Well, because I'm tossing it. I'm like, it's the exact same thing with putting in terms of speed. Obviously, you can get on complex courses with slopes and all that. That's getting into 301 level class, but it's literally that simple. And I think that's what happens with golf is people want to make it so complicated, but the putting stroke or at least the speed control, it's that simple. Like, what would you do if someone said, roll this ball? If you're playing bocce ball, would you like were you going to take it and chunk it 50 yards over the thing?
Right.
Like, your brain's not an idiot. So you just got to eliminate all
I,
that
I
other
think
stuff.
right. And if you're not practicing the short game enough and not getting into enough, you're missing this giant perspective change that needs to happen, right? Like the rest of the game, you're just firing shots through the air, and I need to know the wind. Is there a tree up there? Whatever. I'm hitting shots to distances and targets. But once you get up close, you have to start using the ground around you. And if you don't know how to do
Mhm.
that, you can't get the ball in the hole effectively. So that means stalking the green. And I've gotten the better I've gotten in golf and shot lower scores and got more confident taking my time around the greens. I know it makes me a better putter. And if anyone's complaining about that, you just kind of go, look, if I hit 15 less strokes than you on a round, I deserve maybe, 20 more seconds, but walking around the
Yeah.
entire, and what it does is you're getting a sense of the contours, same with probably your approach to chipping. It's all about a feel. You have to feel what's around you and kind of see it from different perspectives. Otherwise, you're just not going to really be good at it. You're just going to get lucky
Right.
every once in a while.
And it's an area you can control, right? Like when you're talking the long distances, there's so many variables that are no matter how
Right.
good you are, it's going to be outside of your control. But on a green, like 98% of it is in your control. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, so that's just one thing. Again, I know it's not sexy, but a go-to shot, quit flubbing chips, and the putter,
How do you quit flipping chips? It's hard on
well,
some of that fescue fairway sometimes.
yeah. Yeah, that is true, but that's why
Hmm.
that's kind of also why, Aaron, I'm probably in the minority here. I've never agreed with the philosophy of just get really good with one club around greens. I just
Right. And I've been the opposite my whole life. I have that.
yeah,
I've used that
and I
philosophy and it's worked for me until maybe recently.
well, I think then we're gonna probably get into some stuff about like travel, your game track, not yours personally,
Hmm.
but how do you get your game to travel? And I think that's an issue. Like, yeah, yeah, your if you mm, tailor your game to the course where you play 90% of your rounds or 95. I get why you want to dominate that, but also, yeah, like that, it doesn't work at the different grasses, different surfaces,
Yeah.
and also for me, I'm not good at golf playing robot golf. I love being creative. And so while I will say majority of my shots, I'm using that like lob wedge around the greens. How I'll say this, how I use the lob wedge. We even have this on video of getting called out of why is the club set up that way? And then I say, oh, well, I'm
Uh-huh.
trying to do this. And instead of bullshitting, I was, 1 out of 5 able to execute it.
Yeah.
I think that's just a fun part of chipping too, is like people get, it's boring, it's this, but I'm like, yeah, but you can start like, it's like a dance, man. You can start figuring that thing out, get a little movement. You get, it's all hands. You just
And
gotta
you
get
get to
those hands
start
activated.
and that's cool that you practice the up and downs. That's actually what I do as well, more often than anything else. Because you're just what you're doing is you're associating two shots to getting the ball in the hole. And I think that whole picture needs to come together. Because sometimes maybe you don't need to be as aggressive with a chip because you need to leave it in a place where you've got an easy uphill or downhill, depending on the type of
Right.
grain. You love a downhill putt, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you're right. It's like a whole, and it's the coordination between the chip and the putt. So practicing that,
Yeah.
that's an amazing tip right there. Like
And
no
just
sense in not.
realistically, yeah, and it brings in, I mean, look, and then it's like, how serious do you take the putting at that point? Like, yeah, if you're getting them to a couple feet and you're tapping them in, but
Well,
then,
if you
yeah,
want to
if I'm getting,
know,
if
do you
you
want
want
to
to,
know if you're
yeah,
capable of making it? Then you might want to
hmm
sit behind it for a second, put
yeah,
the marker where it needs to be and hit it. Because if you don't, there will always be this voice in your head that knows that you didn't go through it. So you don't really know that the result is what you think it might have been. Did I just say a bunch
and
of words? Does that make any
no,
sense?
no, no, it makes complete sense because what you're getting at again is back to, it's a complementary skill.
Hmm.
Of there's no point of being a great chipper if you can't putt, and there's no point
Mm.
of being a great, I
Tragic.
won't say there's no point to be a great putter if you can't chip because that can
Yeah,
bail
you
you
two
out.
always right.
But it is fun in that because you're gonna hit, you know, you're gonna get in a little groove, you're hitting a lot of pitch shots, you're gonna hit a bunch really close, but you're gonna stub that one and leave a 15 footer, or you're gonna skull or hit a little thin and leave a 12 footer. But
Hmm.
when you start making them, it just transfers to your game. That's if I could say one thing, this will transfer to the actual golf course rapidly.
Yeah, and kind of.
Everybody where everything else in the full swing, it is a grind. Like, you have to stick with it. You're going to go 2 steps back sometimes before going a step forward. This stuff will stick with you if you just do it, and it
But
will
you made me
rapidly.
realize something. If you want to become a better chipper, kind of become a better putter. Because if you can start cleaning up those mistakes where those eight footers start rolling in a little more consistently, it starts taking the edge off of your chipping and your hands
Yeah,
loosen up a
you
little
don't
bit.
have
And now,
anxiety.
yeah, now I can be a little more aggressive with it, and for sure. So, which, by the way, to talk about practice, I was going to bring this up. I remember one of my old homies back in Vegas told me, gave me a really good tip. He was really good, a plus handicap back in the day. Um, with putting, what he would do is spend 90% of his time basically just hitting 4 footers. That's it. They call it 4 or 5 footers. That is
Mhm.
it. And you would try to hit 100 of them, and before your back starts aching or whatever. And the idea
Yeah.
behind it is, honestly, if you can roll in a 4 foot putt at the right speed, right in the center of the hole, and you want to be hitting the stick
Mhm.
too, you got to start thinking that way. You can kind of make anything because
Yep.
everything becomes feel at that point, and all you're telling yourself is, I can hit straight, right?
Yep.
I can consistently hit the mark I'm trying to hit. And then when you have a 12 footer with a little bit of break, you're aiming at a spot, but now I know I can hit it because I made 100 4 footers in a row. And
Yeah.
I remember around that time practicing, whenever this was, like 2007, and Tiger had the streak of like, was it like 494 footers in a row? The most absurd. We
Yeah, it
don't
was
fact
something.
check
Yeah.
everything on here. I apologize. You can
Yeah.
check it, but just absurd numbers. And when you can do that, you probably just get deadly with every other part of putting. The rest of the game gets easier, but like that's the
Well,
money. You have to clean that shit up. You have to
so
clean
I
it
know
up.
sometimes I know I overdo it on being Mr. Practicality for the pod. But again, I'm also talking about like a time
Yeah.
condensed lifestyle. And what you just said, if you're ever going to do dedicated putting practice, I'm putting, yeah, like I'm putting 4 to 6 footers and long putts, because my 4 to 6 footers, I
Right.
know and once you get good at putting, you know if you hit a good putt. You feel it immediately. And once you get really good at
Mhm.
putting, you realize you actually don't hit a lot of good putts that are good. You don't make perfect contact and still a decent putt. But that it's really getting that sweet spot. What you're doing is you're ingraining in, I know how to hit the sweet spot on my putter every
Mhm.
single time. And you do that, 4 6 footers, get the confidence. But then for speed control, I don't really see the value of putting 12, 15, 20 footers. I mean, I'm going to, but 20 plus, because then I'm really working on a lag. Because
Uh,
I mean, maybe it depends on your skill level, but in
But
my brain, the idea of a three putt doesn't even creep into my brain inside of 20
no, you're
feet. It's
saying
like not
something else that's
possible.
smart. If you go out there and start practicing a bunch of 10 footers and start missing a bunch,
It,
in the back of your head, once again, this is
it's
subtle shit.
counterintuitive.
It's subconscious because you almost feel like maybe I should be making these and I'm missing them. Go out to
Yeah,
20, you're not expecting to make it. If you get it close, you feel good. So you've got to
you feel
set
good.
yourself up for success. like you said, I think you just like intuitively over decades, you figured this is my sweet spot of how to get ready for a round and not screw
Right.
myself over. Do not go practice 10 footers. That's actually a
Right.
ridiculous idea. You're just gonna
'Cause you're going to miss them. You know
get in
what I
your
mean?
head.
Like,
Yeah.
and then you don't know, like, even if it's on a practice green, we've all done it. You've been on that practice green hole that for some reason, like, it's an unmakeable hole. Like, it just
Oh,
looks pretty
yeah.
straight, but you put it straight and it just breaks a little right. You put it straight, it breaks a little left, and
Breaks a little
you'll
left.
sit there
Yep.
and hit it 12 times, and that's, like, the last thing you do before you go play is the worst thing. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely think,
And when
you
you
know,
just make it, you don't feel good. You're pissed at
no,
yourself for
you're just like,
making it
"Oh,
on the
yeah, well,
13th attempt.
yeah, I've only got 13 tries out there." Also, even
Yeah.
though I do like a downhiller, I will say for warming up for a round, not maybe just my personal practice, but I'm literally warming up for a round. I'm trying to find the most uphill putt on the practice green for my 4-footers and hit that, because it's gonna
Yeah.
force you to hit it with that extra pace, and I think I'm a die putter. You're a die putter, aren't you?
Mm,
Pretty
I
much?
love it. Absolutely.
So as a die
Silky smooth.
putter, which I'm not gonna get into, like, there's plenty of good putters I play with that are the 4 foot by the hole types. That's just not how I've ever been able to. My brain doesn't see the line that way. I only see the high side drop in.
Yep.
So for me, a good drill is like find the slowest putt possible, 5 feet, and make myself hear the back of the cup hit. Don't let it just drip over the front.
Hmm.
And then, but besides that, yeah, I mean that's the that's you want to avoid the 2 chip, you want to avoid the 3 putt. It's you could put in that work for a handful of weeks, and I guarantee you eliminate 90% of them. And
Wow.
I don't care what skill level you are, you're gonna need it. And
Yeah.
then I mean, but Aaron, what do you do for the? So we've kind of killed the short game, so hopefully we got some chipping and putting nerds out there. But what do you do in terms
Yo,
of?
only listen
Well,
to our pods if you appreciate the short game. If not, just turn the shit off.
yeah, get out.
We're fine.
Because
Get out of
because
here.
I'll say this. I'm going to ask you about the long game, full swing, maybe not mechanics, but however you want to tackle it.
Okay.
My issue is like if people went and watched a bunch of our content right now, you will see me hit a litany of egregious full swing golf shots, which I think every skill level would if you're
Yeah.
recording a bunch. But I will say for my handicap, I think I hit a
Hmm.
disproportionately high volume of those shots. But I think it's because of what I just laid out here is I essentially do not practice my full swing unless I have multiple rounds in a row where something specifically is off the rails. So that being said, what's your thoughts on the full swing and how do you not overreact to maybe what you see in a round or two to take away from maybe the
Yeah. Well,
short game or whatever?
yeah, for sure. I think
Mm.
simplification is the key for long game. And so pretty obvious, but can you develop a cut off the tee and do it every single time? Like, absolutely. And then so two things: simplification and expectations. And expectations is kind of this. It's another big thing we could talk about, especially with amateurs, and maybe especially with 5 and then 10 and 15 handicappers. It's absurd,
Mm-hmm.
I think, what we sort of think we should be doing on the course based on literally what we're doing while we're practicing, right?
Yeah.
So if you have a 4 iron in your hand or a hybrid, I'm thinking more about distance and staying away from trouble. So if there's a big pond left or something like that, maybe it's a little bit of an extra cut, and I want to go at the middle of the green, but it's okay if it's so. All I want to know is that I can consistently move it left to right. I have to be able to do that. And if I know I can move it a direction on purpose, I'm achieving something in practice that I can take out to the course. Now I have full confidence that I'm going to set up here and I'm going to make it go over there. So I think that's really critical. And then just lowering your expectations about what you want out of these shots and getting in the fact that probably going to be chipping a lot afterwards. Nothing wrong with that. And we went over that and we practiced that a
Yeah.
lot. So we're excited for
Yeah.
those moments. And then hopefully playing enough golf courses where you're hitting that nice cut off the tee and then you get a wedge in your hand
Yeah.
and then golf gets fun. Um, so yeah, I think like truly working on something. And then when you go to the range, you need to pick a target. You need to step back. You need to aim at the target. You need to then put the club face at that target, but then open your feet if you're trying to hit a cut and then do it. And then in that moment, you're going to know, did I overcut? And I kind of know what I did there. I swung a little too fast. But if you don't do the first part, you are learning nothing on the golf course. And maybe that's okay
So
if you're a 15 handicap, and maybe you'll
yeah,
stay a
but
15 handicap doing that. But if you're a low handicapper and want to get better, you have to know what, when I put intention on this, what's happening, right?
yeah, so what you just said is probably my number one fatal flaw is when I start hitting range balls and I hit those, I do all that stuff. I have my target, I go through the routine, but the second I start hitting a couple squirrely, I just start powering through ball. It's like the worst thing you could do, right? Like just throw one
Yeah,
power. But then what you'll do is you'll eventually, maybe it's 3 balls later, 8 balls later, you'll pure that one. You're like, oh, I'm good. But man, you may have just really ingrained in
you're
a
not.
total misalignment or something like that. So I think what you're kind of getting at is patience is key when you're hitting golf balls too, right? Like you don't just on the golf course you just sprint out of your cart and Happy Gilmore the ball. You're going to have some kind of routine. But again, you love Freddie, and that's what kills me is like in my brain I feel like I should just grab my 9 iron and be
You're
talking to
talking about
someone
Kruger,
casually.
or who are
Yeah,
you
you
talking about?
love Freddie Krueger.
I hate
Love
Freddy
we love
Krueger,
Mr.
man, for the
Couples,
record. Yeah.
and you just think like you should be able to just like grab your 9 iron. I've done this enough and smooth it, and then you do it. It's just like egregious, and you're just like
Yeah.
it freaks you out almost. You're like I mean Max Homos talked about this. You don't know how literal he is, but he claims he's being literal. Of that he still has that fear when he lays off of not touching his golf clubs for a week and a half when he goes to the range, and he's like, man,
With all
those
due
first few
respect,
balls, some of them are so.
it's because he's Jewish. We get it. We get it,
Hey,
Max.
but
Max, we get you.
we get you, Max.
We
We
get
can
you.
say that
We
as
can say that because we get you. Because
because we're Goldberg.
we,
So
we play
nobody
with a
else in
couple
this space
non-Jews
is
who are
allowed to
just
do.
unconscious. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hilarious. It actually is how it works. They don't think about anything. There's a target. I guess I'll just hit at it. What could go wrong in the world? And I'm just sitting there. Well, if I
They
miss
don't have
this
to.
green,
We
and then
have to be on our toes, always thinking, always a step ahead. You just
yeah,
have to be.
yeah.
All right.
So I'm glad we got
No,
that out of
never
the
again.
way.
Hashtag never. Hashtag never again.
Freaking hell yeah. So,
Holy shit.
anywho,
But
so
but yeah, let's just maybe we'll wrap up some of the bigger ideas about practice. But what I'm saying about expectations is that if you cannot replicate a shot 10 times in a row, really good on the range, don't expect to do it the one time it matters on a course. I mean, you
right,
have to. I love this. I think it was a Nike commercial when I was like 15. It was like amateurs do it till they get it right, pros do it till they can't get it wrong. And I try to remind myself of that,
yeah,
and I try to do it, but I'm not a pro. Then I remind myself, you're not a pro, so you're allowed to go home now. But that's the idea. Like it's oh, I did it. No, it's like over and over and over. And I've kind of been there when I practiced like that. I used to have a range 3 minutes from my door in Michigan, and my kids were little, so they'd be in bed by like 8 p.m. I'd be on the range at 8:15 for like an hour and a half. I got good because I was just pounding shots over and over again. And if you're not, just go have fun golfing and don't worry about it.
yeah. Yeah, no, I get it, man.
Yeah.
So, golf
All right.
practice. So I guess, we took some
Practice?
shots at the data golf guys. I think
Yeah, go feel it, data
uh,
guys.
these blueprints that they're putting out there for just do this. And I mean, here's the thing. I'm again, as a data guy, I'm sure if you could follow some of those things to a T, but I think there's just a hyper complication that's going to result in an overactivation of the brain. And to be honest, we're not all Phil Mickelsons out there
Oh,
that need to
I
be
wish it could
thinking
be.
through every
Yo, what up, Phil? We love
millimeter.
you, Phil.
What's up, Phil? We're Phil's, but
I
yeah,
don't
that's
want
not
to
for
be though.
everybody. I know.
When
I
we
wish I
did
could.
I tell you this? So before we started our round at Mammoth, where Jewel and I were partners, he goes, "Listen, man, all I want you to do is to not think. I need you to just step up and hit the ball and stop thinking." And he was
Oh,
right, and it did
total
help.
goyim,
Yeah,
total
it's like, oh,
goyim.
just not think. Okay, sure, everything's just fine. Don't have to worry about anything. Yeah, we're not all
Oh,
gonna die one day, right? Right? Yeah, okay. Yeah. Yeah, you keep
yeah.
selling that, Jewel. Thanks,
Must
man.
be nice golfing with that level of freedom.
Yeah,
But now
because We are going to die one day, so go practice your 4 foot putts
So
because
go
it's all that
practice putting.
matters. Because you
It's
know you
all that
can make them.
matters.
That's all that matters.
All right, so let's. This has been a pretty good. This is good. I like this a
That was
lot.
interesting.
Probably a little long on putting on
Avenue.
front. So new
No, we should
appreciation
have
for
spent more
putting.
time putting.
Yeah,
I
this
like
whole
how we
pod
barely
should just.
talked about everything else. Who cares?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah.
Sorry.
But no, that's good. I think the good recap. Just push back on the data golf community, hyper optimization, tailor it to you and your needs and your time constraints, but focus on the
Hmm.
big three, have the go-to shot, get out there, do these chipping and putting drills, kill the chipping and putting drills, kill the chipping and
Kill the
putting
girls.
drills, kill the grills, and get that handicap starting to come down. Then you got confidence, and then work on chip away at the full swing thing. What are you seeing in your round that's happening
Right.
every time over multiple rounds, and go focus on that. You're not going to go fix your whole bag in a season. Oh, I'll say, okay, here's a pro tip.
Oh,
I've had
more?
two, see this tan line? I've had two significant wrist injuries, but in between the first and second one, making my massive leap as a golfer is because I had about 5 months fully off, but when I came back, it was another like 3 or 4 months where I could only do like up to 80-yard shots and everything.
Hmm.
I could not get past that point in the rehab. Um, and I hit 50 to 80-yard wedge shots nearly for a whole year in this, I don't know, 2018 time frame.
Oh,
And guess what? I didn't do anything with my full swing, and all of a sudden I went from like playing great and I'd maybe flirt with a 71 to where I spent 20 and 21 just like shooting a shit ton of 68s. And it was just
yep.
because I had a wedge in my hand. It was is deadly. And that stayed with me now forever. So I that's probably
Yeah.
another tip. I was like, if you're gonna go focus on longer
Look, if you
shots,
want it, yeah, if you want to be a
focus on
YouTube golfer,
something. Yeah.
well, hold on. If you want to be a YouTube golfer, go out there and pound drives. If you want to be a
Mhm.
real golfer, get those wedges in your hand.
Get those wedges in your
Get
hand.
those wedges in your
Um,
hand. Get yourself a new
but
set of wedges.
oh,
Do
I
that.
love. God, we could. That's
Gotta do
another
that.
topic. You should be refreshing
Yeah.
your wedges every 3 weeks.
Those grooves, yeah, they wear out fast.
Yeah, too fast. But man, when you do get especially, what's also cool about chipping? You'll start getting those little wear marks
Hmm.
on your wedges, and people are going to be
Hmm.
like, "Man, this guy must be real, or gal must be really good." But a
That's
lot of
hard.
them are just coming because you're just pitching it,
Yeah, we're just chipping.
just
Yeah.
chipping, man,
Wow.
just chipping. All right, any closing comments? I'm good on this one, Mister
Um,
Puffin.
no. Puffin says though, aim for the middle of the green, be aggressive with your driver, get that putter in your hand. This guy.
Okay,
He knows what he's talking about
Puffin.
though. He sees a lot of golf.
All right. Well, until the next time, again, stick with us. We got some crazy, crazy tent coming on the Wisco front. And as always, stay
Stay
plugged.
plugged in, buddy. Listen
Adam.
to us.
Listen
Listen
to
to
us.
us.
Comment, like, subscribe.
And Adam in the PNW, take that driver shit seriously, please. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Toodles.